It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Okay, let's talk about some counters to the twins, Lars and Krista. What is up, Heroes of Dominion? My name is Charlie. This is Hero Wars Central, and I want to talk a little bit about some options that will sometimes be effective against the twins in some instances. And I say that, and a little bit of word of caution. I say all that, but it really is going to vary depending on one, which variant of the twins team you're facing. Is Lars in the back? Is Krista the tank? You know what are their supports they're using? What team are you using currently? It's going to vary quite a bit. Generally speaking, no team, no hero is guaranteed to work every time, but there are some that will help. There are definitely some that will help. So let's start with one of the more obvious examples, and that is the Karkh team. So a lot of Karkh teams, a lot of strong Karkh teams will beat the twins, specifically like Astaroth with Karkh, Nebula, Jorgen, and Faceless. That's a no healer. A no healer Karkh team will often beat the twins just because of the nature of the synergy and how strong Karkh is. But let's talk about some other options. So if Lars is in the back, you can use Cleaver. Cleaver has his rusty hook that pulls the rearmost enemy forward. This would be Lars if Lars is in the back, so that's an option. You can also use Ju. Let me find Ju in my list of heroes. Ju has the ICU ability, this for the blue ability. For a period of time, Ju increases his attack power and focuses attack on a ranged enemy. Very strong if, again, if Lars is in the back. Another interesting hero that specifically targets the back line, it doesn't target the rearmost hero, but it does target the back line, is Darkstar. Now, I like Darkstar a lot, and Darkstar overall is kind of like Fox, is kind of like Arachne. Fox will stun, blind, whatever, the front row, whereas Darkstar will stun the back row for 3 seconds. And really, before Lars got his armor skin, Darkstar was a very strong counter to Lars. Shoots 2 arrows at distant targets, damaging and stunning them for 3 seconds. Okay, so this would often stun Lars if Lars was in the back. Even if there was a healer pushing Lars forward, this would still stun Lars as well as the healer. But ever since that new armor skin has been added, if that Lars has their armor built up, this is going to be less effective. So just a fun idea there. Another interesting opportunity is another team counter idea is if they're using Krista as a tank. You could use Chaba as your tank. This swallows the current target for 6 seconds, usually swallows the tank, takes the tank out of the fight, takes Krista out of the fight. If your Chaba can survive long enough to get his ult off, this could potentially be enough to disrupt the synergy, disrupt the flow between Lars and Krista. So very strong ability there overall, but if Krista is in the front, then this is particularly effective, as would be Fox's frontline stun as well. So talking about more specific counter mage abilities, we can take a look at the tanks first, and that would be Rufus. Now, Rufus has got a number of interesting abilities that help protect against magic damage, but in my experience, Rufus is not enough to counter the twins by himself. Usually you need something else with Rufus, but Rufus is an interesting take in that he doesn't do well as a primary tank. But if you're going up against a team that does not do a ton of frontal attack damage, obviously the twins do basic attacks, which will damage which will damage Rufus the tank. But the main abilities of Lars and Krista, with the exception of Lars's single target stun, is area of effect damage. So having a weaker tank but a stronger tank that will protect the whole team with magic damage. You can see here Kashi's Barrier. Rufus covers the team with the shield, which absorbs all magic damage up to a point. And then you have this right here, strikes the enemy with the greatest magic power. This often will hit Lars, often doing damage to Lars. You have a self-heal, and then finally, the fact that Rufus cannot be killed with magic damage with this valid ability. So interesting choice there, but Rufus, in my opinion, needs help. Needs somebody else to help counter the twins. Maybe Rufus and Darkstar will do it. I don't know. And then you have Cornelius. Cornelius is notorious for taking out the highest intelligence enemy hits the enemy with the highest intelligence, with a monolith, dealing damage proportional to their intelligence. So this heavy wisdom attack, in some cases, will one-hit a lot of mage or healers. So if you're going up against Satori or Celeste, Cornelius is also a great option. But if the enemy happens to have a Lars that's got higher intelligence than Krista, then heavy wisdom will practically one-hit Lars. So if Cornelius survives long enough, then this is a very strong counter to the twins. You also have Protective Dome, which increases the magic defense for the whole team, and you also have Memory Loss, which will lower the level of their first skill, which will potentially cause the ability to miss. And then another one you have is Rune of Suppression. This will reduce magic attack for 12 seconds, reducing the overall damage output for a little while. So another strong anti-mage hero to consider if you're trying to collect a bunch of twins counters, or find a twins counter that'll fit your team. The primary reason why the Karkh team is effective against the twins, not only is the synergy between Faceless and Karkh, but also Faceless has this violet ability, Spell Expert. Now, it doesn't provide a ton of magic defense, but in some cases it's just enough. Provides magic defense for the whole team permanently. Strong ability, very strong ability. A couple of more heroes that you can go with before I end the video. You could look at heroes that will silence the enemy team, and the first one we could take a look at that everybody seems to use a ton of would be Kira. Kira's Blade Whirlwind ultimate will silence the enemy team for 4 seconds. If Kira can get off her ultimate ability, silencing the enemy team for 4 seconds will stop heals, will stop Lars's spells from firing off, will stop Krista's spells from firing off. So part of the big reason why Kira is so strong of a hero is this silence. You also have Thea. Who has Valve Silence. This will also silence the entire enemy team for 3 seconds. Does a little bit of magic damage as well, but strong ability. Sometimes Thea is all you need to keep your team alive. Fast heals from Thea. Oh, a tank that I forgot to mention. We already talked about Rufus, and we talked about Chaba, but let's talk about Aurora a little bit. So Aurora has this Rainbow Halo. Okay, this shield partially absorbs magic damage. After absorbing a certain amount of damage, the shield explodes, damaging nearby enemies. So strong counter magic damage shield there. Often, this is a pretty good ability. However, Aurora is kind of an odd bird. Her primary mitigation stat is dodge, but if she's so good against magic damage dealers and you can't dodge magic damage dealers, then I don't know, but you can't give her too much magic defense. Otherwise, this ability right here will not be as effective. So it's kind of strange. She does have this stun, and then this area of effect damage is pretty strong as well. But another interesting team that will often beat the twins is a strong Cleaver Peppy combo. Okay, and a lot of it has to do with the Masquerade ability. Which stun, blinds, or slows the enemy. You have this shield that you can put on Cleaver that will bounce back a lot of the damage that the twins do. That a well-built Cleaver Peppy often is enough to beat the twins. So kind of smart team there. And then finally, Sebastian. Now, Sebastian I wanted to mention last because of the fact that he's much better against the twins on Facebook. On mobile, Sebastian doesn't really do much against the twins. And what Sebastian on Facebook does that he doesn't really do on mobile is he's got this Ode to Serenity. And Ode to Serenity on Facebook states that it removes all debuffs from the allied team and conjures a shield that prevents the next 15 debuffs from being applied. So effectively blocks 15 debuffs. But not only that, but his Violet ability, Public Idol, allows Sebastian to start with energy. And you can see here that even if I haven't leveled my Sebastian up much, yes, I've got him to Violet +2, but I haven't done much to his glyphs or artifacts. And you can see here that Sebastian starts the fight with 31.409% energy. So he starts the fight with a third of his energy bar full, and usually allows him to ultimate before everybody else, removing all debuffs from the team. Any watermarks that have already been applied will be removed, and it blocks 15 more for a while. So Sebastian on Facebook often by himself is enough to counter enemy twins teams. It's often enough to counter enemy twins teams. You can also target specific heroes on the enemy team. So if your enemy twins team or the twins team that you're trying to attack is using Jorgen, you could use Satori. If the enemy is using I don't know. I really don't know. If they're using Orion, I'm not sure why they would. Then you can use that as well. So you could pick apart the other heroes. Pick apart their tank in particular if they're using a weak tank, or maybe the healer if it's a weak healer in the back like Thea in the back. Then you could your your Jew and all that will be effective as well. But just a couple of ideas. There are many ideas to counter the twins, but this is just a couple of the ideas that some of us have known for a little while. Maybe not very obvious to some newer players, but some of these heroes are pretty easy to get, like Cornelius and Faceless. Others are a little bit more difficult to get, like Sebastian. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think is the best way to counter a twins team with your particular team. It's important that you tell me what team you have and what you use to counter twins teams, or if you just avoid them altogether. Personally, I love fighting them with my Karkh team. Usually it's a free win for me if we're anywhere near the same level. So with that being said, I love you all. Good luck in Dominion.